Hi everyone, from October 29th to the 31st, I am going to recommend you random horror movies to watch. For October 29th, we have the movie Zombi, which came out in 1979. I have to give a shout out to my cousin Cindy because she was the one that showed me this movie a very long time ago. I remember there's this one scene in Zombie that will forever traumatize me. It's when the zombies grab this female and they're trying to push her towards them, and there's a wood sticking out, and the girl gets closer and closer to the piece of wood. Oh my god, it's so disgusting. And I think what makes it even more heart-wrenching is how long that scene is. But oh my god, I think I would have put up more of a fight. I think I would have used at least one hand to grab the piece of wood and break it off and then hit the zombie with it or something. But of course it's just a movie, and I guess they do that to try to mess with you. For October 30th, we have the movie Vamp, which came out in 1986. Vamp is a horror comedy, and it does have its funny moments, but I do think that if you get creeped out by vampires or people turning into vampires, then I do think that maybe this movie may scare you or at least give you the creeps. Grace Jones did an incredible job when it came to her part in this movie. I like how she didn't even say anything in the movie, but her body language or her facial expressions told you a story. For October 31st, we have the movie Killer Workout, which came out in 1987. Now, you guys know I won't lie to you. This movie is good, but it also has its bad moments. I don't know if it's because of how they acted in the movie, or in my opinion, I think that they should have added a few more scenes to this movie to make the storyline a bit more understandable. There was another thing I wanted to say. And I do believe that they should have taken out some scenes from the movie. For me personally, I think there's some scenes that wasn't necessary. But what I love about this movie is the fashion, the music, the aerobics, the 80s feeling. I just love anything that's from the 80s. I feel like this movie is fun to watch. Even if you watch it one time in your life, this movie is fun. And even though I don't think it's meant to be a comedy, but I can't help but laugh when it comes to some of the acting or some of the ways that the actor or the actresses deliver their lines, or the noises that they make. I know there's a few fight scenes in this movie, and it's just the noises that they make when they're fighting. It makes me laugh. I notice when I need a good laugh, or I want a horror movie, but also a horror movie that makes me laugh on and off throughout the movie, I tend to lean more towards this one. Of course, there's a few others, but I like this one. And I've also noticed too that if I want to show one of my cousins or family members a horror movie, but also a horror movie that I know we can kind of make jokes about, I'll show them this movie. Bonus number 1 is Killer Klowns from Outer Space, which came out in 1988. I remember the very first time I saw Killer Klowns from Outer Space was in 2020 when we were all in the house. I remember seeing this movie, and it was I know it was after midnight. I think it was maybe around 1 or 2 in the morning when I was watching this movie. And I can honestly say, and I was so surprised by this, only one scene really creeped me out. And I don't remember if it was I know it's not in the beginning of the film, maybe in the middle, where one of the clowns had somebody sitting on his lap, and it was kind of like a puppet scene. I'm not scared of puppets or anything, but it was just something about that scene where it really just creeped me out. And I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but it's the God's honest truth. I remember too that when that scene was going on, I remember I was so creeped out that I grabbed my blanket, and I just kind of went I tried to hide myself, like I was a little kid. It was so weird. And I'm not scared of clowns either. It was just something about that scene where I was like, whoa. And I almost forgot, there's this song called Killer Klowns from Outer Space. And I promise you, I'm not joking around when I say that the band's name is called the Dickies. I promise you that's their name. But they made a song called Killer Klowns from Outer Space. And that song is such a great song. There's like this part in the beginning, and I think it's throughout the song, but I like it in the beginning, where it's just like, I think it's like a piano note or something, where it just kind of like drags on. If anything, I'm gonna link the song in the description box, and I'll also leave a timestamp of what part I like, because I'm not really good with instruments. I love music, I love to hear music, of course, but I'm not really good at the instruments. But I'll leave a link and the timestamp of my favorite part in the description box down below. Bonus number 2 is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, which came out in 1988. There's this song that's kind of in the beginning of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and it's called Once Bitten, Twice Shy. And that's another song like from the 80s that I love. Of course, I'll link it down in the description box down below. But I remember when I first saw Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, I heard that song and I thought to myself, oh man, that's like the coolest song I ever heard. And of course, I had it on repeat over and over and over again. And because seeing it on Elvira, I thought to myself, you know what, now I want to drive to that song. It's just one of those like cool songs where you feel like you can drive fast down the highway, of course, drive the speed limit, but like it's just like one of those cool songs that you can drive to. I remember a few years ago, I showed this movie to my niece Kayla. I don't know if she remembers it, hopefully. If not, then one day I would love to show her again. But I remember we were watching this movie, and of course, because Elvira is different and herself, people were judging her for it, and they were being mean to her and judging her for being different. And I remember I had to explain to my niece that just because Elvira dresses the way she does, doesn't mean that she's a bad person. Like, she's a great person with a great personality, a great heart that wants to help others. But a lot of people are just so closed-minded, and if things are different from what they were taught or different from what they're used to, they automatically think that's bad. Being a unique, kind-hearted person is a great thing. And I don't know how I forgot to mention this, but of course this movie is funny. But I do think that if you were to show maybe like a younger person, like maybe let's say the age of 7 or something like that, maybe they'll get scared of a few scenes. But I think if you're like old enough, like this movie wouldn't scare you as much, or shouldn't, I don't know. But this movie is funny. Bonus movie number 3 is Death Becomes Her, which came out in 1992. There's so much I love about Death Becomes Her. Of course, I love Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn. I love the elegance of this movie. I love how rich it looks. The houses that are in this movie, the decor that's in this movie, the fashion, everything about this movie is just so beautiful. And I also love the message behind this movie. Like, yeah, it's nice to stay young and beautiful, but is it worth it to be young and beautiful and fragile forever? Like, you can't even live your life, especially if you're fragile and any little thing can mess you up. The fourth and final bonus movie is called 13 Ghosts, which came out in 2001. I remember the first time I saw this movie, I was pretty young, maybe like a preteen or something, but no lie, there were a few death scenes in this movie that made me like recoil, that really disgusted me, that really freaked me out and traumatized me. I love the storyline of this movie. I think it's really interesting. And what I remember being really, really interesting when I first saw it was seeing Miss Honey from Matilda being in this movie, because when I saw it, I was like, is that her? I think my mind is playing tricks on me, because I see her as Miss Honey from Matilda. So seeing her in this movie playing a completely different character from Miss Honey was really shocking to me. But of course I think she did an amazing job. But I was just like, Miss Honey? Like, I was just like, oh my god. And just in case you wanted a closer look at my hair charms, I got these at Ulta. This one is a little spider web. These earrings I've had for such a long time. I think maybe over 5 years at this point. This one is a little witch. So I decided to put on 2 different earrings because I honestly couldn't decide which ones to put on. Even though I know I could have put on 2, but I had a feeling that if I put one in the front and one in the back, it was gonna cover each other. So I just decided to put on these 2. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and happy Halloween from Yogi and I. Yogi's a little scared right now because it's pouring rain outside and he does not like the rain. And right now I have my fingers on his chest, and his heart is racing so fast. So my poor baby's a little scared right now. Oh my god. Thank you so much for watching again, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Peace.